Greetings, Commanders! Minnie here! Welcome back to another episode of Elite Dangerous Overengineering. Today we are landing at Bill Turner's base to break the RNG machine with massive amounts of materials. We're here to do 170 Grade 5 efficient plasma accelerator upgrades. And just so you know what we're getting into, here's a teaser. Okay, Bill Turner, I have your favorite weapon to upgrade, plasma accelerators. This one. So I have some Class 4, Class 3 advanced plasmas, and some Class 2 plasmas. Unfortunately, Class 1 plasma accelerators do not exist, which kind of makes me sad, but okay, whatever. So I have 2 Class 4A plasma accelerators, 4 Class 3B plasma accelerators, and 4 Class 2C plasma accelerators. So basically, 4 Class 2s, 4 Class 3 advanced, and then 2 Class 4 plasma accelerators. So let's take a look at the blueprint. Grade 5 efficient weapon upgrade. You're going to need unexpected emission data. You can get this data from scanning ships. Generally, the smaller ones I've noticed, like Cobras, Diamondbacks, Sidewinders even, have given me unexpected emission data. It says combat ships, but I've noticed that generally on the smaller ships, I tend to get more unexpected emission data. I did that by sitting in Super Cruise and scanning ships. It took a while, especially for this many. Unexpected emission data is surprisingly rare, even though it's a grade 3 data. Next on the list, cadmium. Now, if you watched my 5-hour random material gathering and preparation live stream, we went to a certain planet. Let me look that up for you. So, next we need to search for cadmium. So let's bring up eddb.io again. So we're going to go to the bodies tool, and we are going to search for our reference system of GATO, because that's where I am. Gato. Here. Material farming CA, cadmium. Let's find bodies. Let's search by concentration. 200.54 light years out, 9 seconds away from the star. Body system. So we're going here. Control C. And it's body 1, I believe. Oh, it's a little bit high on the gravity, 1.5 G. Not too happy about that, but the cadmium is there. I can also get arsenic, ruthenium, nickel, iron, navigation, and copy paste, because I'm not typing that shit in manually. And plot route. Once you're done collecting cadmium, you can look at proto heat radiators, and you'll also use eddb.io for that. You're going to want to look for an independent system under boom conditions. And then you search anywhere from 500 to 900 light seconds away from the star, above the orbital plane, so you don't hit any shipping zones or any planetary body gravity fields. And you're going to look for high-grade emissions for proto heat radiators. Keep in mind, high-grade emissions with this particular boom state will also drop proto-radiolic alloys and phase alloys. So keep that in mind. If you don't need those, then, you know, don't pick them up. If you do, cool. You'll get some extra on the side. Anyway, we have 170 grade 5 efficient rolls to do. So before we do that, let's look at this. Hey, look, everything's positive. This is why I like efficient. Thermal load decrease, damage per second increase, damage increase, power draw decrease, distributor draw decrease. So to use more and more plasma and not overheat the balls out of your ship, getting efficient is quite nice because you get lower thermal and lower distributor draw, which means you can shoot more often, do more damage, use less power, and not overheat. I mean, why would you not like efficient? Now, if I could only get efficient modifications for railguns, that'll be the day. Let's go ahead and look at the experimental effects. Phasing sequence. Modulating burst fire system designed to defeat shielding. A small amount of damage is able to bleed through shields and attack the target's hull directly at the cost of minor damage reduction. Damage reduction goes straight through shields, but the damage is shit because I have had these before, so don't take phasing sequence. Dispersal field. Experimental upgrade that causes successful strikes to temporarily confuse all gimbal and turret hardpoints on the target at the cost of direct damage potential. Once again, reduces damage, but basically acts like applying chaff to your target. This one might be fun. Target lock breaker. No damage reduction. Experimental upgrade that breaks target lock on successful strikes. Could be very fun. Dazzle shell. Experimental shells that temporarily reduce a target's sensor acuity upon impact. Basically makes it to where the sensors are not as accurate for the ship that you are shooting. I could see this maybe possibly be useful in PvP, but honestly, target lockbreaker is probably going to be the most effective if you're going to be fighting other commanders. Thermal conduit. Experimental upgrade that increases damage output based on the heat level of the firing ship. Now, this is probably only going to be effective because once you reach 100% heat, it goes back to its default damage. So you have to be toasty to be able to fire this. And once you apply additional heat onto yourself, like 120, 150%, then that particular weapon does additional damage. I don't see quite the point myself of frying myself to be able to kill my enemy. Not necessarily something I want from a PvE standpoint. Possibly for PvP, but I don't PvP, so I'm not sure about thermal conduit. Plasma slug. Experimental upgrade allowing plasma slug ammo to be generated directly from ship fuel at the cost of reduced damage. So out of all of these, the only one that does not reduce damage is Dazzle Shell and Target Lockbreaker. So what I'm going to do for my class 4s is do one Target Lockbreaker and one Dispersal Field. Make them all crazy or make it where they can't hit me. Most ships can only use one class 4 weapon mount anyway, so having the mix of Dispersal and Target Lockbreaker for the Imperial Annihilator if I decide to use Plasma Accelerators will be quite nice. Anyway, I'm going to go and mute my mic, and we'll see you when we're done, Commanders! Viewcast, and generate! Okay, let's take a look at my Class 2 plasma accelerators, starting with the worst. We got an integrity bonus of 3.3%, power draw decrease of 30%, 8.5% bonus to the damage per second from 17.9 to 19.4. 54.3 damage got boosted up to 58.9. Distributor draw went from 8.65 megawatts down to 5.17. A decrease of 40.3%. That's ridiculous. And then, of course, our thermal load went from 15.6 to 6.6. That is a 57.9% thermal load reduction. Following that, we got like a 2.6% armor piercing bonus. And we have dispersal field on this one, so when it hits, their gimbals go nuts. On to the next one. We got a mass decrease, or increase actually, from like 4 tons to 4.03 tons. Woohoo, big deal. And then after that, we got an integrity bonus, and then a power draw decrease from 1.43 megawatts to 1.06, an 8.7% damage increase from 54 to 59. Our distributor draw went from 8.65 to 4.95 with a negative 42.7% reduction to distributor draw. Thermal load went from 15.6 to 6.4 with a 58.9% thermal load reduction. This one also has dispersal field. So, and these are my two worst, which is why they have dispersal field, versus my other two Class 2 plasma accelerators, which have target lock breaker. So we have a mass increase of 1.2%, boosting the mass from 4 tons to 4.05, power draw of 1.43 megawatts, decreased to 0.91. That's like a cargo hatch and a half, basically. And then after that, we've got a damage per second bonus from 17.9 to 19.5. That's a flat 8.8% bonus. Distributor draw went from 8.65 to 5.53. That's a negative 36% distributor draw reduction. And then our thermal load was reduced by 66%, reducing it from 15.6 down to 5.2. Versus on this one, it's like 42 and 58, respectively. On to the last Class 2. Target lockbreaker, again, of course. We have a 3.2% bonus to mass, making it 0.13 tons heavier. Integrity got boosted by 7.9. Power draw decreased by 28%. We got a flat 10.5% bonus to damage, boosting the damage from 54 to 60. Distributor draw was decreased from 8.65 to 5.77. It's a negative 33.3% reduction to distributor draw. And the thermal load was 15.6, and now it's 5. 67.8% thermal load reduction. And then a slight decrease to the armor piercing value. But that 10.5% bonus is pretty nice. Moving on to the Class 3 Advanced Plasma Accelerators, starting from the worst to the best. Target Lockbreaker. We got a mass reduction of 4.8%, reducing it down to 7.62 tons, and negative 7.1% integrity reduction. Power draw went from 1.97 to 1.44, that's a 26.8% reduction. DPS went from 28.7 to 31.6, that's a 10.2% increase, boosting the damage from 34.4 to 37.9. The distributor draw on this went from 5.5 megawatts to 3.59 megawatts for a total reduction of 34.8% on the distributor draw. And then we got a thermal load decrease from 11 down to 4.6 with a 58.6% thermal load reduction. On to the next one, Target Lockbreaker again. Integrity decrease of 13.8%. Power draw decrease from 1.97 to 1.21 with a 38.7% power reduction. Damage per second on this one was increased by 11%, boosting it from 34.4 to 38.2. Distributor draw decreased from 5.5 to 3.61 with a 34.3% reduction to distributor draw. Thermal load went from 11 to 4.5 with a 59.4% thermal load reduction. and a 3.2% armor piercing bonus. On to the third one. Target Lockbreaker once again. Mass reduction of 5%. That reduces it to 7.6 tons. Integrity decrease. Power draw decrease by 35.9 with basically dropping it down to 1.26 megawatts. And a 13% damage bonus, boosting it from 34.4 to 38.9. Distributor draw decrease of 35.5%, reducing it down to 3.55, and then thermal load from 11 to 4.5 with a 58.8% reduction. Let's move on to the last Class 4 Plasma Accelerator with Target Lockbreaker again. The idea is if I'm firing these things fast enough, I want to be able to have my target not be able to hit me whatsoever once I'm hitting them. So it's going to be extremely frustrating firing so many advanced plasmas at one target so they can't target me. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at the statistics on this one. We got a mass reduction of 9.3%, reducing it from 8 tons to 7.25 tons. An integrity increase on this one, actually, from 64 to 80, with a positive of 24.3% to the integrity. After that, we got a power draw decrease from 1.97 to 1.23 with a 37.4% power draw reduction. And then on this one, holy crap, guys, look at the damage. 13% bonus. That is the perfect secondary bonus for this plasma accelerator. Looking at the distributor draw, we went from 5.5 megawatts down to 3.64. That's a negative 33.8% distributor draw reduction. And the thermal load went from 11 to 4.5 with a 59.4% thermal load reduction. Now let's take a look at the Class 4 Plasma Accelerators. We have Dispersal Field on this one, and this is one of the Class 4s I'm going to be using on the Annihilator. We got a mass decrease of negative 1.4% from 16 tons down to 15.78, a negative 3.4% integrity reduction, which I really don't care about. And then the power draw went from 2.63 megawatts to 1.66 megawatts with a reduction of 36.9%. This plasma accelerator got a 10% bonus to damage, boosting it from 31.3 DPS up to 34.5, and then the overall damage per shot went from 125.2 to 137.8. That's about 3 points below an overcharged plasma accelerator roll, which is pretty significant. Distributor draw went from 21.04 to 13.38 on a Class 4. That's a 36.4% reduction. And then onto the thermal load, 29.5 base got reduced to 11.9 for a 59.6% thermal load reduction. Let's go ahead and swap this out for the other one. If you see here, we have a damage bonus, damage per second bonus, and an armor piercing bonus versus the other one. But this is my Target Lockbreaker one. So let's take a look at the statistics after it is transferred to the ship. Target Lockbreaker on this one versus Dispersal Field. Mass reduction of negative 1.1%, reducing it from 16 tons to 15.82. Integrity decrease from 80 to 78. We have a base power draw of 2.63, reduction by 33.9%, reducing it at 1.74 megawatts. Damage per second was 31.3, now it's 35.2. That's 12.5% bonus. Not quite perfect, but it's pretty damn good. So the overall damage went from 125.2 to 140.9. That's ridiculous. Distributor draw decrease from 2104 megawatts down to 13.61 megawatts with a reduction of 35.3% on the distributor draw. That's really nice. After that, thermal load reduction of 25.9 down to 12.7 for a total thermal load reduction of 56.9%. And this one also got a 2.2% armor piercing bonus, boosting it up to 102. Commanders. If you did like the video, please do like the video and feel free to subscribe. This is Mini for Elite Dangerous Overengineering. Signing out!